You can't have that much dopamine without it affecting your receptor sites. So they start closing down and become desensitized and desensitized. And that then gives rise to ADD, gives rise to Parkinson's and all kinds of brain problems. That's what Parkinson's is your receptor sites just close up completely. And so dopamine doesn't work. The way I figured that out is I looked at, okay, I started having Parkinson's, which is whenever I would focus, my body would involuntarily shake. So then I analyzed this and I saw addictions. And I'm saying this because I know a lot of guys listening are of addictions, and you need to get over it. You need to heal your brain, because once you have high stimulation a lot through that masturbation is like having the same effect on my brain as being a superstar. What that does, high stimulation desensitizes your receptor sites. So now you're dependent upon the high stimulation. So I had to heal my brain to upregulate the receptor sites. Whey protein produces a huge amount of serotonin to do that. Has to be pre-digested, because once you have an addiction, you can't really digest your foods effectively. So that was a major thing. I also took something else that they didn't do in Switzerland, but I was trying out all these things to see what would work. And it was something called lithium orotate. Now, lithium orotate, I've been promoting it now. I manufactured that shake, by the way. And then I took the other major thing that I found for brains. I did a study and I saw that you put lithium into a petri dish and brain cells, and they start multiplying. Nothing else does that. Lithium is actually multiplying your brain. It also stabilizes your mood, because a lot of these guys on their female side, they have big mood swings. Okay. They get anxious, or they get angry, or they get procrastinate. See, what is procrastination? Just understand it. You wait to the last minute until it's an emergency before you do the thing. You need an emergency to get there, because an emergency is danger, and that produces enough dopamine. You want to be able to free from, that force that just holds you back from doing what you know you're here to do. And you're waiting and waiting until it's danger, until finally you do it. If you do it, it's because the dopamine, the danger was so high that you had to do it. And this is part of what's being a man, is doing what you have to do, but it shouldn't have to be waiting until it's dangerous. This is when you get up and you do your exercise, you feel I have to do it. And then you feel good later because you did something you had to do. You had to overcome some challenge. That's part of being a man. Doesn't mean you have to do it so much. I remember when I was younger, I was taking Kundalini courses, and the guy said, just put your hands up in the air like this and just hold them there until it's painful. That's it. And you experience so much pain that during the day, nothing's going to bother you. But
that's interesting. Okay.
I basically, I used to have a lot of anxiety, and that was all healed. After I'd been a monk for 9 years, I married the wrong woman. She fell in love with another guy and left me. I was devastated, and I was teaching classes on relationship. And so that I didn't have a way to make money teaching classes on relationship. That was my money. And the woman who I loved rejected me for another man. So I was like knocked into depth. And so
was that first marriage, was that sort of what launched you into Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus? Or
when I look back, a lot of the mistakes I made in that marriage was helping me understand the difference between men and women. I'll explain it very quickly. I tried to marry Bonnie. Bonnie I married to for 33 years for her. But I tried to marry her 6 years before. Okay. I love Bonnie. I wanted to make her happy, but I was still playing the game. I felt, I'm universal love. I have lots of girlfriends. But eventually I said, I just want to marry you. And then she didn't trust that I just wanted to be married, because I had a history of wanting lots of girlfriends and everything. So I couldn't convince her to marry me. And this other woman was another girlfriend, had pursued me. Her husband even said, please take my wife. She can't live without you. And he was this guy.
Take my wife, please.
Take my wife, please.
Yeah.
So, and she had money. She helped me get started in my career. And so I let a woman help me. And as every woman will feel after a while helping a man, is they will feel resentful. And she wants a man to help her, whether she's aware of it or not. But this woman, my first wife, her self-esteem was so low. The only way she felt self-esteem is to find somebody that needed her. And certainly at the time I didn't have much money, and I needed an assistant and someone to promote me. And she was doing all that for me. But then, she basically lost attraction for me and for another man who she felt could do something for her. And that's what I learned when I went back to be with Bonnie. Now I'd sort of developed myself after being a monk. I had a profession. I could teach things. I felt more grounded in my masculinity. I could win Bonnie over, and I did. But it took me 9 months first of healing, because I was so devastated by, being rejected on both sides. She wanted to be with another man. And, that was my income. I couldn't teach relationships if my relationship failed like that. I had so much anxiety, and it
Yeah.
helped me remember an experience in childhood where I had a lot of anxiety. For me, it was a time where I thought I'd never see my parents again. I was with strangers. I felt abandoned. And it was like just a week away, but it was like as for a child, 6 years old, it's like forever. I'll never see my mother again, and so forth. And that was the wound, that the feeling of insecurity. When I remember the day when I said, I left those people and I'm going to walk home, but I couldn't find home. I was in a different state, and I realized I don't have the power to get home. So for me, it's always been a theme of how do I come back to myself again? By reliving that experience is what you do in therapy, as you learn to look at your dark side, your suppressed side from childhood. Life will trigger it, but then you have to know how to process it. And this is very, very important for men. Men today, because they have such high estrogen, they have all these emotional experiences. By learning my process techniques, which I've been teaching in that workshop, now I really needed to use it. After 9 months of going through this healing process after the big breakup, I never had anxiety again. I'm completely free of anxiety, 74 years old. And yet from 21 to 33, I had anxiety all the time. Even being a monk, if I stood in front of an audience, I would still have anxiety. Meditation really helped me, but it didn't overcome or heal the wounds of my past.
Yeah.
And so in a sense, my mother was so wonderful. I was so attached to her, and then to lose her and feel like I'm never going to get back to it, it was a big trauma. So this is a part of all men. The more we go to our female side, it will wake up the wounds from our childhood, that's the good thing about it. The good thing about women going to their male side is they do feel a certain empowerment, but then they realize that they have to come back to their female side, and it will appreciate a man for that even more. The ability to be for a woman to be on her male side and her female side is when the two become one, which is the highest spiritual state. And for me, the ability to having that wound come up and feel, boy, that was a hard time for me. And I've had many, many hard things happen as well, but I know how to process the emotions of that. That then integrates my female side, the emotional side of me, with the male side of me. And that's where you find your real power. So yes, men have gone to their female side, and now they're waking up realizing that, I've got a problem. I got low testosterone. What's causing that? Well, first of all, when you have emotional experiences, you have to practice what the Navy SEALs do. Never speak out loud your negative emotions, but write them out. Okay. You write them out, not to be shared with anybody. See, if you feel a negative emotion and express it, it's always to change somebody. And if you have to change somebody, it means you're in danger and you're using negative emotions to get what you want. But if you can write it out and you don't have to share it with anybody, your brain gets the idea that this is what I'm feeling, but I don't need to feel that because I'm not in danger. It's a very simple concept of learning to write out what you feel. And then as you can do that, then you can actually get to the deeper issues that will come up if you're in a committed relationship. That's what actually brings up the deepest feelings is women. A woman, because see, what happens when you fall in love is you've reconnected to your inner child. It's the time. See, love is what we feel as children. My grandchildren are just all love, just all love. It just opens you up to love. And that helps your brain remember what you felt as a child. Well, when you have an orgasm with a woman, you're also experiencing this high peak state of feeling deep love for a brief moment. That will then bring up your stuff. And then once you learn to bring up your stuff, then you can integrate your female side to your male side. And that's by learning how to process your emotions. And what I see is for the younger men is that they all have all these emotional issues. They don't know what to deal with them, learning to journal them. So in all my books, every one of my 28 books, almost every one of them, I explain towards the end how to process your emotions. That's what allowed me to overcome my anxiety, my depressions, my procrastination. All those things allowed me to look at, okay, what's bothering me inside, and not just suppress it like those Navy SEALs is I'm gonna suck it up. And that's a good technique. That's called sucking it up and not expressing it. That tells your brain you're safe because you don't have to express it. And then your testosterone goes back up. It produces adrenaline, and adrenaline increases your testosterone. But then to go to a higher level of balancing your male and your female sides for making love, okay, you want to have extended love making. You want to be able to, we're talking multi-orgasmic man here. You have to combine your male and female side. And to be a multi-orgasmic man, you need to have both connections from your male side to your female side. Biologically, this is so interesting. A man getting erection has to have testosterone go up, but simultaneously his estrogen levels have to rise as well. The problem with men who lose erections is that they're connecting with their wife, their estrogen, they love her, so their estrogen goes up so high and their testosterone can't go above it. See, so you have to feel the hardness, but the erection only occurs if you're connecting with a woman. See, that's where it happens. There's other situations where gay men, they're in a role play. One's up, one's down, one's more feminine, one's more masculine, all that. They get erections. And there is something about men, we need to have our erections. But what you do, and what every father should have taught his child, his son, these are ancient techniques, is when you get an erection, it says, touch me. And so what you do, if you can see what I'm doing, is the top part of the penis, you look at the clock and you say, let's see if I can keep it up for 10 minutes by just gently stroking it and letting it settle down all by itself. And usually it will just, as long as you don't touch the head or touch the back side of it, the vulnerable side of it, then it doesn't stimulate dopamine. It just gives you a little pleasure. And so what you're training yourself is to be able to sustain a little pleasure without feeling like it's little, I have to have more. It's like eating a Oreo cookie, you get a big dose of it, then your blood sugar drops, you have to have another one, and you have to have another one. Same thing, if you go up and down on your penis, you have no control. You just, I have to go there, I have to go there. So you train your penis to not be so sensitive. It's going to give you plenty of pleasure when you put it in her. But what happens if it's too much pleasure, then you start trying to achieve a goal. I've got to get to that. I got to have that orgasm, as opposed to, I don't have to have that orgasm. This feels good enough the way it is, and I can last longer and keep giving her more and more orgasms. So it's like retraining that. And there's no way this technique can work if you're looking at porn. It can only work when you're not looking at porn and
you're looking at the clock, you said.
We're looking at the clock. You're looking at it and you see, I'm going to do this for 10 minutes. And the objective is for it to just settle down. You're wanting it to calm. You're calming it down, not doing the opposite, any up and down. And then, so when you finally get to a girl, you stay calm and you become more and more detached, but at the same time, you feel her passion. See, you become one. See, this is the whole idea of oneness, is I'm on my male side, which is detached, cool, calm, and collected. And I'm on my female side in her, feeling passion and feeling excitement, feeling one with her orgasm. So you can be multi-orgasmic by creating her having multi-orgasms. And then your orgasm is different from ejaculation. It's these big peaks of pleasure that go up and down. There's a good book to read on this, The Old Multi-Orgasmic Man. They have some good techniques. I feel like what I just explained is a better technique because it's not control at all. You see, they're going to try to tell you to go up and try to hold back and hold back. That's just controlling a natural.
Edging, right? That's what they call that, edging.
And I like edging as long as you don't get to the edge. Stay around 6 as opposed to get to 9. I used to do edging and I'd be at a 9 and then afterwards I have blue balls unless I ejaculate. So, part of at my 70s, I don't think young men have to do this, but I know for me, if I ejaculate, I'm not interested in sex for, at least a week. But what I do is I'm multi-orgasmic and I'm having her orgasm. So I don't need to ejaculate. And so not needing to ejaculate, I'm ready to have sex the next morning. I have sex, almost every day when she's here. I'm fortunate. My wife she travels and does her job because I also need that distance. Men need distance from their wives.
New episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Subscribe now.